Good afternoon, everyone. I have been meditating on this topic for a while, as many of us do as realtors, and possibly those of you that have bought or sold a home recently. So, one of the challenges that we face in real estate, there are many challenges and there are many steps to the process, but so often we'll get towards the end and everything's looking pretty good, and we're thinking, oh yeah, everything's ready to go. And then next thing you know, the buyer's agent calls if you have the listing and says, oh man, they're verifying income, or he lost his job, or they can't get a hold of their employer to verify job status, etc., and so on. In the cases of sellers, sometimes sellers may have some liens that they thought were paid off. Some liens or something might break in the house, or as a buyer or seller, there's always these last minute issues. Sellers can have, like, the AC can break down and then they're facing a new AC, or I'll give you a couple examples. Recently I had a deal where my buyers were buying a home, and the seller's agent says, hey, we're good to close if you're ready to close. And I said, yeah, we're ready to close, so let's get the repairs done that we needed. And so and I asked him, title work was in, and yes, title work's in, and seller's ready when you are. So we order the repairs, and next thing we know, the repairs are done. Let's see, $8,000 worth of repairs are done. And then the seller's agent calls and says, oh, I'm so sorry. Apparently the seller can't close because he didn't know he owed $65,000 on these old liens or whatever. And I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me. Like, my people paid for repairs, and well, they didn't pay for all the repairs, but they paid for inspections and all this stuff. And so then we had to figure out a way to pay everybody, pay the contractors who did the work, and it was a big mess. And so I had a situation where I was a listing agent, and before I listed the home, I contacted the title company to do a title search, and I said, how's everything look? And the title agent says, oh, it looks good. Everything looks good. So foolishly, granted I wasn't under contract or anything, but foolishly I'm like, okay, great, so we'll list it. I don't have any title issues. And then I get towards, I don't know, halfway through the deal, and we get the title search from a different title company, and oh no, now we have my seller can't close because their relative who they inherited the property from apparently had liens on their name. Now, the liens didn't go against the house. The house couldn't be taken. The house wasn't part of it, but it was against the name of the deceased relative. So we called the lien holders and said, hey, this person's passed away, and there's nothing to be had. We're scraping by literally maybe with $200 plus, and you can have it surplus after closing. You can have that. And there were I believe two debtors that had these liens against this guy's name. And so they're like, oh no, we're not going to release a lien. I said, why? Even if it forecloses on, you're not getting paid. And if we close, there's no money to be had. So why won't you release it? And they said, well, even though we won't make money either way, we don't want to report our loss. So we're not going to do you a favor and take off our lien, even though it wasn't against the house. Crazy. So even though they couldn't claim the house, they couldn't take any proceeds from the house, they couldn't try to, take it from the bank, they wouldn't release it, even though they knew they weren't going to get any money when it foreclosed on. So they weren't getting any money from us, they weren't getting any money one way or the other, but they wouldn't remove the lien because they wanted to delay the reporting it to the Federal Bureau, because then it looks bad for them or something. So that was bad on me. Another challenge I've been facing lately is on a couple of my listings, the buyer's verification of job employment here in Texas, and I'm thinking, isn't that done in the first few weeks, right? Verification of job status, and then within a couple of days of closing, they verify again. Well, here we have a lot of people that are employed by oil and gas and other industry, and they're working the same job under a different contractor, maybe at the same place, but a different contractor, or employing the company they're working for. And so they could have like 3 to 8 different jobs in a period of 3 years, but it's the same job oftentimes with the same contractor, sometimes with different, but it's the same continuous employment, type of employment. And now I'm in a situation where I'm waiting. Apparently there were 8 different employers over 3 years, and we've got a hold of 5 of them to verify employment, and we're still waiting on 3 after 6 weeks. And I'm thinking, why are we waiting on this after 6 weeks? I don't know, people, but if you have a client who is a buyer, who you know has this type of job, or you are trying to buy a home and you know you have this type of job, then my encouragement is ask these questions about, hey, have you contacted all your employers? Are you ready to get letters? Are you ready? Are they still around? And if they're not, you have to track people down and get that information. Also, I have another buyer, on a listing that I have, and things were okay, but sometimes, I had a buyer where